Dias, filling in for President Shelley Sorsabal, who could not be with us tonight. Director Paris, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
It would be an honor. Would everybody please stand, place their hand over their heart, and follow me. Please mute your phones. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Paris. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Vice President. Division 7, Gary Van Dam.
Here.
Division 6, Audrey Miller.
Here.
Division 5, Robert Paris.
Here.
Division 4, Justin Lane. Division 3, Frank Donato.
Here.
Division 2, Keith Dias.
Here.
Division 1, Shelley Sorsabal. It's not present. Dwayne Chisholm.
Here.
Tilden Kim.
Here.
And Holly Hughes present.
Thank you. Item 4, adoption of agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
This is Rob. I move that we adopt the agenda.
I'll second. This is Frank.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. Division 7, Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
Division 6, Audrey Miller.
Yes.
Division 5, Robert Paris.
Yes.
Division 4, Justin Lane. Division 3, Frank Donato.
Yes.
Division 2, Keith Dias.
Yes.
Division 1, Shelley Sorsabal. Not present.
Okay, that carried. Item 5, public comments. If anybody listening in from the public would like to address the board on any item that is not on the agenda, please feel free to do so now. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 5A, voluntary public roll call via teleconference.
Or any public on the line.
John Joyce is here representing Acton, Agua Dulce, Lake Los Angeles, and Roseman.
Thank you, John. Anyone else? Okay, and now we have a special item, and I will now open a public hearing in the matter of the adoption of proposed resolution number R-20-09, amending the agency's conflict of interest code pursuant to the Political Reform Act of 1974. Dwayne, who will report on this item?
I'll provide this report for the board. So, as you can see, this item is a consideration of possible action to amend the agency's conflict of interest code. The Political Reform Act requires that the agency establish a conflict of interest code, and that the agency also take a look at that code every 2 years. The last time we took a look at our code was 2017. So we are due to take a look at that code and update it. And in essence, what's occurred is that we've had several title changes within some of the staff members, and that's generated a different reporting requirement for those employees who fill out their Form 700s. Not everybody fills out all of the forms. Some personnel only have to fill out a couple of forms, while others have to fill out more. And what this resolution does is establish that. So we're looking at R20-09 for the agency at the present time. This schematic here kind of shows you the positions that had title changes. This is the only, there's no substantive changes to the conflict code, just clarifying. So we have general manager and chief engineer, assistant general manager, engineering manager, and we had deleted a position of controls and maintenance supervisor, the lab manager, and the water resources manager. And this is a copy of the code or the resolution. I know it's pretty fine print, but the board was provided the resolution earlier today. And in essence, there's really no significant difference other than the names that are highlighted in the resolution. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I have one. So the board of directors have always had to fill these forms out once you're elected. So, and I know the immediate general manager. So now everybody in management has to fill one of these out, or just the entire employees of the entire agency?
The employees that are listed that may have a potential conflict of interest have to fill out a form. And as I've indicated, there's various categories so that, for example, the assistant general manager has to fill out, category 1 and 2, where the general manager has to fill out category 8. And so that's essentially what it does is the potential conflict of interest where there's a minimal amount of risk per se. They have a different set of forms to complete. And those that have greater financial impact, like the finance director, finance manager, they would have the full 8. Category 8, like we do, and also the board has.
Thank you for that clarification.
Are there any more questions from the board? Are there any comments from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
You want to close the public hearing?
Yeah.
Well, according to the agenda, page 6, we're being asked to make a motion prior to closing the hearing.
You can't
Go
ahead.
I think it's more appropriate to close the public hearing than for the board to take their vote.
Exactly.
Okay, we will go against what's in the agenda. The meeting is now closed. The hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion to close the hearing. Whoever did the agenda did it wrong. So, it happens, and we need to correct it while we're here.
Yeah, what do we do now?
What the thing to do is to entertain a motion to close the public hearing, take a roll call vote on that particular item, and then for the board to consider action on the resolution that's contained in the packet or screen.
So I made the motion to close the hearing.
This is Director Miller. I'll second.
Do we have a roll call vote, please?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Dustin Lane, Frank Donato, did I hear your vote?
I said yeah. Well, hang on a sec. I thought I said yes.
I'm sorry.
Hang on a second. Maybe I got my thing. Where's my?
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Justin Lane, Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Sally Sorsman.
My apologies to the board president for not having the proper steps in the board packet.
No, don't worry about it. Okay, that item passes. Item 6, new business. None. Item 7, consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Keith, this is Rob. I'll move we approve the consent calendar.
Yes, I hear you now, Jim. Okay, no problem.
We can't hear you, Gary.
This is Gary. I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Justin Lane, Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Kelly Sourceable.
The consent calendar items is approved. Item number 8, A1, Public Information Committee. Is Director Lane with us?
It does not appear so.
Could we have a member of staff give a report on the Public Information Committee?
Matt Knudson, the Assistant General Manager, will provide the staff report on the Public Information Committee item.
All right, thank you, Dwayne. Good evening, directors. So I'll be presenting on the item 8A, which is a request we received from Palmdale Water District for the agency to provide a letter of support for their project known as the Palmdale Regional Groundwater Recharge and Recovery Project. So included in your board packet on page 20 is a brief staff report. And then followed on page 22 is the letter that we're going to be considering this evening. So just a little bit of background. As you know, we approved a support letter for Palmdale just 2 weeks ago for the Palmdale ditch enclosure. So now they're requesting a letter for their recharge project. And this project goes back a few years. It's one project that they've been working on in order to recharge and recover their own state water project table A water that they've received and blend that water with recycled water. So the request is for an application that they're submitting to the Bureau of Reclamation Water Smart Program. It's a federal grant funding opportunity. They're seeking I think it's $1.5 million total. The project is located about 105th Street East and Avenue L. It includes about 80 acres of recharge basins, 16 recovery wells, and 25 miles of both potable and non-potable pipeline. So as I mentioned, the project would deliver state water project water from the aqueduct via a new turnout and blend that with tertiary treated recycled water from the Palmdale reclamation plant. That water would be recharged into the groundwater basin and then recovered for later use. The project would need to satisfy all compliance with environmental regulations as well as water quality standards. Palmdale recently provided Avek 2 support letters for our grant applications that we've submitted to the Bureau of Reclamation for the Eastside Water Bank expansion, as well as the SNIP Phase II Pipeline Project. As mentioned, both letters were submitted to the Bureau of Reclamation, where the agency is seeking grant funding. So we feel it's appropriate that we should return the favor to our partner agencies and submit a letter of support for their grant funding. We don't feel that this would be in direct competition for our grant funding opportunities that we've submitted. So there's no problem there. what we're seeking approval of today is that the board approve the attached grant support letter that's on page 22 of your board packet and authorize Dwayne Chisholm to sign that letter of support. This lines up well with both our 2020 strategic communication plan that we adopted, as well as our 5-year strategic plan. You can see there meets several of the goals outlined in both of those plans. This item was reviewed with the Public Information Committee on September 3rd. We reviewed it. Committee has some good input to the draft letter that we submitted at that time, and those recommendations are incorporated in the letter you have before you tonight. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the requested letter of support for Palmdale Water District?
This is Rob. I move we approve Board Order 8A1.
I second that. This is Frank.
Any more discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Anticipate less than.
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Justin Lane, Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Kelly Sourcewell.
Part of the meeting which deals with
The order is approved. Thank you.
It's basically
Thank you.
just a prompt to get everyone to.
Item 8B, Personnel Legal JPI Committee. Director Paris, do you have a report?
Yes, this is Rob. I believe our assistant manager will be providing the report for this.
Can you hear us, Lisa?
Thank you, Director Paris. Good evening again. So what we're talking about this evening is resolution number R20-18, which is an amendment to our policy for service by board members to add section 19, which is a new section that is the provision of personal electronic communication devices. On page 24 of your agenda packet, there's a brief staff report followed by the proposed resolution. So just a little bit of background. Back in April of this year, the board went through in detail and updated and adopted the policy for service for board members. So that was done in April. The policy eliminated the use of private email accounts for agency business by directors. You recall that was in section 16 through 19, or section 16 through 18 of that policy that was adopted in April. So what we're proposing to do is add section 19 that clearly describes the use of communication devices for conducting agency business. So that proposed language is listed here. This was prepared by legal counsel and the personnel legal committee went through this in detail about a week ago, and committee provided some good information in it. I'll give you a minute to just read that paragraph. Make sure there's no questions from board members. Pretty straightforward.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when a board member, like some of them have tablets and whatever equipment, if it breaks, do you have insurance for that?
Yes. So this policy will allow the agency to provide electronic devices to board members, such as iPads or a tablet. So when the agency purchases said device, it belongs to the agency and it's loaned to the directors. If something happens to the device, When we purchase it, we do provide accidental damage or loss of that equipment. So we are purchasing the insurance. So if something happens to that device, we can replace it under the policy. And that's covered in the expense. We also have the ability, if a director loses their device, through our IT team, we can remotely inactivate the iPad or tablet. So it's of no use if somebody were to find or steal that device.
Okay, so since that equipment would hold agency, data and stuff like that, are you going to let the board know that happens, or somebody steals it? Like say they're at a convention, somebody steals the thing out of the room or whatever. Who do they call? Do they call you, so that might be something you want to implement instructions to so the board would know where to call.
Yeah, they could call Dwayne or myself, and then we would definitely put them in contact with our IT group.
Now, the question with that is that could be too long. What I'm worried about is if something's stolen like 5 hours ago, we wait for this guy to get back from the Bahamas. They have that kind of access to it. It should be something like a credit card, where the if we do call you or whoever, there should be some number we can call Verizon and tell, or whoever. Well, I guess it doesn't matter because it'll be on our hard drive. So it's not like a cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's not. I just wanted to bring it up, make sure it protects the directors so they don't have an issue with that.
Yeah. And so we've got that covered. That's pretty much what the policy allows, is so that the devices can be purchased under our current purchasing policy and loaned out to the directors. The directors will have to sign a little acknowledgement stating that they received the device, and that when they're through with their term for the agency, that device would be returned to the agency. If you recall, a couple meetings back, the board approved separating out the budget line item. So in the approved budget, we have a line item called director's fees of $230,000. We've created a subcategory of that line item, and we're calling it director communications devices. And that line item has $14,000 in it, $2,000 per director that can be used to cover these devices. And I know Secretary Hughes just recently sent out an email that included a list of approved devices, whether you're an Apple individual or you prefer a tablet. So look for that email and get back to staff with your preference if you need any of these devices.
Well, I got a question. It's basically only two. I mean, one's an Android and one's an Apple, right?
Yeah, correct.
Maybe I was going to learn something tonight. It used to be, years ago, it used to be, what do you call it? BlackBerry.
Yeah. Way back. So staff is recommending that the board approve resolution R20-18, amending the policy and adding section 19. As I mentioned, this item was reviewed with staff or the personnel legal committee as well as the legal counsel. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Can you hear me now, Bill?
Yes, I can. You just popped in.
Got it.
Okay.
If there are no questions, could I have a motion?
I sure do, Jim. Video now, Bill? Yep, you're pretty as can be.
This is Rob. I move approval of resolution number R2018.
Yeah.
This is Frank. I'll second it.
Your picture first, Jim.
Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Justin Lane, Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Kelly Sourcewell.
That item is approved. Item 9, old business, we have none. Item 10, chief engineer's report, we have none. And now we have another special item. We will adjourn to the Antelope Valley East Kern Water Agency Financing Authority meeting. Do we need a motion to do so?
Yes.
Could I have such a motion, please?
This is Director Miller. I'll move.
Good evening, Dennis.
Thank you.
This is Rob. I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Rob. Roll call vote, please.
Where's everybody else?
Gary Van Dam,
They're here.
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Dennis.
Hi, Dennis.
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Justin Lane,
Well,
Frank Donato,
and we had Jim
Yes.
for a second there.
Keith Dias.
His screen print.
Yes.
Kelly Sourcewell.
Oh, Randy's there. Hey, Dennis. Hey, Randy.
All right, it's approved. We are now in the meeting of the Avek Financing Authority for consideration and possible action on the adoption of resolution number FA-R-20-01, authorizing the amendment to the Conflict of Interest Code pursuant to the Political Reform Act of 1974. And I think this is identical to what we just approved as an Avek board. Dwayne, do you have a report on this item also?
Yes, just to reiterate, yes, this is exactly the same as the previous item. There is less title changes associated with this item, but essentially the same.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions? Any comments from the public?
No, I did not.
Okay, now I believe we will consider taking action on Special Board Order FA-SBO. Do we have a motion?
I was out chasing my tail all today. Right. This sounds good. Yeah.
This is Rob. I move approval of FA-R-20-01.
I'm surprised you could see.
Thank you, Rob.
the smoke out
Second?
So this, Frank, I'll second it.
Thank you, Frank. Roll call vote, please.
there. Hey, Donna,
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
headache.
Audrey Miller,
She's going to join.
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Justin Lane, Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Kelly Sourcewell.
Your puppy? Did you bring your
Okay, the special board order has been approved. Now, do I have a motion to reconvene to the regular AVEC board meeting?
Hey, puppy, and my dog barks.
This is Director Miller. I move that we reconvene to the regular directors meeting.
Thank you, Andrew.
Gary, I second.
Thank you, Gary. Roll call vote, please.
Little puppy.
Gary Van Dam,
Aww.
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Justin Lane, Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Kelly Sourcewell.
Okay, that item is approved. We are back in the regular AVEC board meeting. Item number 11, General Manager's report. Dwayne?
Yes, thank you, Director Dias and members of the board. We have the General Manager's report for September 7th, 2020. It's very dry in our areas in the Feather River region. You can see that the drought map is beginning to expand. There's larger areas of drought that are expanding as of September 1, 2020. From this graph here, you can see that this is the end of the water year. There's not a lot of rain expected in September, and we're moving along pretty much at the 20% rate, getting ready to start a new water year beginning in October. The good news is we're a little over 110% in storage in San Luis for this time as of what our average is. So we're actually doing pretty well. This is the period where we're draining the reservoir, getting prepared for the new water year. And you can see we're going to start out the year about 50% of capacity in Lake Oroville. We look at things closer to home. We're producing about 50,000 acre feet of water off the aqueduct through the various plants, and having this very, very warm weather in the Antelope Valley is part of that reason. We're also delivering 8.3, 8.4 million gallons a day through the geopurification process. So we add all these up together, we're almost at 60 million gallons a day. As far as recharge goes, we're only recharging on the Eastside water bank at about 2.5 to 3 acre feet a day. As far as the August activities report, this item was contained in your report packet. I'll just highlight a couple items that are involved here. And as you know, we've kind of broken this up into strategic plan categories, and this is ground basin stewardship. And we completed the initial groundwater model and hydrology model for the high desert water bank, and all the completed piezometer drilling for that project. So it's moving along very well, and it continues to be on schedule. As far as water reliability goes, one of the things that was a very important aspect of the operation was a replacement of the Quartzville water treatment plant granulated activated carbon filter media, and that really allows us to enhance our ability to treat water with new carbon in those systems. Also, we approved the 2020 buyback plan from Luz Solar, and that added to our banked water that we had in the water agency. And also we reviewed the California Supreme Court's denial of the state water contractor petition having to do with that Delta Stewardship Council cases, and we're continuing to work through that. As far as water quality activities goes, we've maintained all of our federal and state standards along the aqueduct. We've also been well below our goal of 64 parts per billion for THMs. And as far as financial integrity, we've made several grant applications to Bureau of Reclamations, one for the Eastside project. And then also we're still working on the SNIP line. And we've also approved a proposal with Raftellus for the financial consulting to provide our planning and rate setting services for the next year. As far as human resources goes, we continue to implement the COVID-19 protocols. We did do some recruitment for some interviews for operator and electricians. And most importantly, we have no cases of COVID-19 were reported. As far as our communication activities, you can see we've secured several letters of support for the Eastside Water Bank project, and we recently got two press articles published today having to do with the board member elections and keeping their seats. So that's worked out fairly well. And let's see. As far as the legislative update goes, September 30th is the last day for the governor to sign or veto legislation. So the legislature has left Sacramento, and we also have the general election on November 3rd. So that's what it looks like. A couple of things that were approved by the governor was the PFOS and PFOA rules, and what that does. This Assembly Bill 756 is it allows the Department of Water Resources to require the testing and recording the levels that are occurred. As you may remember, previously it was done by a kind of a more of a voluntary method of moving forward with PFAS. Now it'll become mandatory and through AB 756. So this will have an impact on quite a few agencies that have these issues in their groundwater supplies. Also, AB 307 is the water conveyance and facility of unused capacity. This was something that's very particular to a water project that's on the eastern portion of California, out in the desert in that area. So. And then probably interesting bill that was introduced on the federal side. This was by Representative T.J. Cox, and it authorizes $800 million for surface and groundwater storage and conveyance projects. This is something the agency is looking at very, very closely, and it also builds on new providing new funds for improving existing infrastructure and building new infrastructure. So we're looking at that intently over the next several months to see how the agency would qualify for that funding. As far as the events and schedules, we got some virtual conferences on the 9th and 10th for the National Water Resource Association. And then on the Water Master board meeting will be on September 23rd at 10 a.m. I plan to be in the office the next 2 weeks, unless anything else goes crazy. But for right now, that's the plan. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions for General Manager Chisholm? Thank you very much. We'll move on. Item 12, Director's Report. Any reports from directors? Did you say something, Frank?
No, I said no, none.
Okay. Item 13, any attorney's report tonight?
So this is Tilden Kim. No attorney's report for tonight. I understand that Jim Markman in closed session gave a summary of the various pending actions that Avek is involved in. And so at the next meeting, if there are any attorney-client privilege communications, we can schedule a closed session, or if update that's based upon public record and public knowledge, we can also update in open session.
Thank you, Tilden. Item 14, request for future agenda items. Any requests from board members? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 15, closed session. Dwayne, is there a reason to go into closed session tonight?
Yes, we have two updates on items B and C. We don't anticipate those to take too long.
Do I have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing Items 15B and C.
I move we go into closed session.
Thank you.
Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the proclamation?
Since Director Miller, I second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Justin Lane, Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Dolly Sorcible.
Okay, that item is approved, and we will go into closed session in 5 minutes.
Thank you all, and so speedy. And anybody on the public who wishes to call back in, as soon as we get off, you can wait on the line and we'll get back to open.
Community Services District's proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has brought illness and death to many residents of Roosevelt, and whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has caused great economic